Hello and welcome. If you've ever felt that heavy weight of loneliness, or maybe you've seen someone you love go through it, you know it's not just a fleeting feeling. It's a real deep ache that so many of us experience. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to look at what loneliness really is, how it can affect our health, and this is the important part, what we can actually do about it. Think of this as a friendly guide, a way to find a little hope and some real practical tools to help us connect again. So let's dive in.
I'm empty, my tank is low. Wow, this feeling, which someone shared in an online support group, really gets to the very heart of loneliness, doesn't it? That deep sense of being drained, of the world just losing its color. It's such a powerful reminder that if you've ever felt this way, you are definitely not the only one. And just acknowledging that pain, well, that's the very first step towards seeing in color again. And this is really important. Loneliness, it's not just something we feel in our hearts or our minds. It actually has a huge impact on our physical health. I mean, get this. A major study from Oxford University found something pretty startling. They found that social isolation is linked to a 26% increased risk of developing dementia. 26%. That really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? It shows that connecting with others isn't just a nice to have. It's absolutely essential for keeping our brains healthy for the long haul. But, and this is a big but, there is so much hope. We've got a clear path laid out for us today. We're going to move from just understanding the problem to exploring real, practical things you can do. We'll touch on everything from using technology to connect, to finding groups in your community, and even how to handle life's toughest changes. Together, we're going to build a toolkit for reconnection. All right, so let's start at the beginning and make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is loneliness? And is it the same thing as just being by yourself? Well, it's really important to understand this one key difference. Loneliness, that's the feeling, that distressing sense of being alone inside, even if you're surrounded by people. Social isolation, on the other hand, is about the facts. It's the actual measurable lack of contact with other people. You can be isolated but not feel lonely, and you can definitely feel lonely in a crowded room. Both are important for our health, but they are not the same thing. And if you do feel lonely, I really want you to hear this. You are so far from being alone in that feeling. A huge national survey by the AARP found that about 1 out of every 3 adults over 45 says they feel lonely. Just seeing that number can help, can't it? It shows us this isn't some personal failing. It's a really common part of being human. And that brings us to another really important idea. Let's talk about the difference between the pain of loneliness and the peace that can come from healthy solitude. Really, it all comes down to one word: choice. See, loneliness feels like it's happening to us. It's unwanted, it's upsetting, and it just drains your energy. But solitude, that's something we choose. It's that quiet time you decide to take with a good book, or maybe just sitting in the garden with your own thoughts. That kind of time alone can be so restorative and peaceful. The goal isn't to never be alone. It's to make sure that when you are, it's a source of strength, not stress. Okay, let's start building that toolkit we talked about. And we'll begin with some of the easiest to access tools that many of us have right in our own homes, digital ones. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Can a computer screen or a phone really make us feel less alone? A lot of us worry that more screen time just means we feel more isolated. But you know what? The research on this might actually surprise you. The truth is, these tools can be powerful lifelines. For example, some studies have shown that just making regular video calls can really help reduce symptoms of depression in older adults. Seeing a loved one's face makes a huge difference. Social media can help us stay in the loop with family and friends who live far away. And things like telehealth mean you can talk to a professional counselor right from your living room. But, of course, let's be realistic. We have to talk about the digital divide. Technology can be just plain frustrating sometimes. Complicated menus, tiny little buttons, not to mention the cost of a computer or internet service. These are real barriers for a lot of people. And it's okay to feel that frustration. It's so important that we have patience with ourselves or with loved ones as we try to learn these new tools. So while technology is a great tool, we all know there's just something special, something irreplaceable about connecting with people in person. So let's shift gears and talk about finding that sense of community and purpose right where you live. I love this quote. It's from someone who joined a local walking group, and it just perfectly shows the change that can happen.
You can hear the journey in their words, right? From being a little nervous to feeling confident, all from joining a simple group. That feeling of, I'm here, I belong here, that's what it's all about. So, where can you find that feeling for yourself? Well, the good news is the options are probably all around you. Of course, there are senior centers, but also think about clubs for any hobby you can imagine: gardening, book clubs, crafts, you name it. Volunteering is a wonderful way to meet people who care about the same things you do. And don't forget about things like group exercise classes, or even taking a fun class at a local community college. There's truly something for everyone. You know, some of the deepest feelings of loneliness can come from life's most painful changes, especially when we lose someone we love. So this next part is all about finding the right kind of support when you need it the most. This person, who shared this in a group for widowers, said something so profoundly true. Happiness doesn't cancel grief. Grief isn't something you just get over. It becomes a part of you. You learn how to carry it. And you can absolutely 100% find happiness again even while that grief is still there. It's not one or the other. They can, and they often do, live side by side. When you are looking for help, it really helps to know where to turn. Research on widowed older adults found that different kinds of support are better for different needs. For instance, being in a support group with other people going through the same thing was most effective at helping with the grief itself. But for feelings of depression that came with it, talking to a religious leader was often more helpful. It just goes to show how valuable it is to find the right kind of help for what you're feeling. And sometimes, the best and most comforting companion doesn't walk on two legs at all. The simple, steady, unconditional love of a pet, well, it can be an incredible source of comfort. They give us a reason to get up in the morning, they give us endless affection, and they're the best listeners. The power of a pet to ease loneliness is just, it's remarkable. Whew. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? We've talked about what loneliness is and explored a whole bunch of tools. So now let's bring it all home and talk about the most important part: how to take that very first small step. I think one of the biggest things that holds us back from reaching out is the fear of not knowing what to say. Here's a little trick. Shift your thinking. It's not about coming up with the perfect, witty thing to say. It's just about being curious. Instead of worrying about yourself, just focus on the other person. A simple, honest question like, "Looks like you're having a rough day," can open the door to a real human connection. So what can you do right now, today? It doesn't have to be a big deal, just one small thing. Seriously, just one. Maybe that one thing is picking up the phone to call that one friend you've been meaning to. Or maybe it's just doing a quick online search for that book club you were thinking about. Or maybe it's as simple as stepping out your front door and just saying hello to your neighbor. Each one of those is a real step. A step out of isolation and a step toward connection. And that really brings us to our final thought. The journey out of loneliness isn't about suddenly having a packed social calendar. It's about nurturing the connections you already have and just being open to new ones, one day at a time. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What is one connection, just one, that you can strengthen today?